You first, Adam. So I always like to clean up my motor cables before I actually install them, so it's nice and easy to twist them up. Make sure you don't have any sections that aren't nice and twisted before you start actually assembling it to anything, especially installing it in the frame. I'm also looking at a combination of Mark III and Mark IIIs Plus installation, so forgive me if I get a little bit confused. Some of them have much changed instructions since then. What's up, Ryan? You need a grass stream. I figured the outdoors was a lot better than my gloomy basement for trying to assemble this stuff. Aha. Apparently when they switched to Mark III S Plus, they changed the harness routing, which is why I'm checking both of them. Definitely not going to lube the bearings though. I think it's a waste of time. I don't think we should do it. Just kidding. I'm going to use the Kennedy Dwag method, which I actually prefer. All right. Most controversial step. I guess my personal favorite way I grab 2 rods, just like in our tip section. I fill up. You can kind of see maybe a little bit. I just fill up the bearing till you can see a little bit of white down in there. Then put a rod in about halfway. Put the other rod in. Try to have the rods meet somewhere in the middle. And you'll see you'll actually push out quite a bit of that packing oil, the anti-rust oil. So these have been sitting for about somewhere in the 3-year mark. So definitely going to grease these a few times to try and make sure that all that old sticky grease is out. Bearings actually felt completely dry when I pulled them out of the package. So in any case, just do that a few times over and over. Should be plenty good. I do personally like to run the bearing up and down the rod a few times. Make sure that the actual balls are distributing the grease a little bit. So I kind of move them in the same direction. This is very messy. It's not a very glamorous task, but move them in the same direction to keep the balls circulating through. If you move them back and forth, they might not actually circulate through the entire passageway on the inside. And I actually don't like how that feels, so I'm going to do it one more time. Alright, so one is done. Already making a pretty good mess. Clean this off a little bit so I can actually grab onto it. Yeah, Ryan, these are the older bearings. They're unmarked, but this would have been about the time that they were using LDO, I think. If Kennedy's still on, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing these are LDO. Oof. What's up, Rince? Man, we have all the guiders here. Now everyone can watch how I'm doing things wrong. Go to the bright side. If I ever make a mistake, pretty sure I'm never going to live it down. Ryan, as far as I know, the LDO and the Mizumi bearings are pretty much the same. I don't think there's an appreciable difference between the two. Yeah, so this makes me curious about the shelf life of some of these bearings. Because clearly the you know, actually, Rince, I was thinking about that. These actually feel relatively not hardened. So when I pulled them out, I was kind of surprised, but either way, I've got a set of spare rods of the new Mizumi, so I'm not super worried about it. But I did think the surface finish felt a bit strange, to say the least. Bearings are starting to feel a little bit better. I think the anti-rust oil clogged up quite a bit inside there, so probably wouldn't have been a bad idea to clean them out with a bit of mineral spirits or similar, but that's all right. It'll probably work its way out. Ryan, just curious, which axis did you have troubles with? I noticed that they updated their instructions recently to change the orientation of the x-axis bearings, and it seems like that, in combination with over-tightening the rear extruder carriage cover bolts, might have been causing a higher case of x-axis issues. So at least that's my guess. I had my x-axis rod scratch within, I don't know, a month of pretty regular running. So, but I will say I've been running with a Scratch X rod for quite a while with no issues. So I don't think it's as big of an issue as people make it out to be, but I also haven't done anything to back that up really. So, though I will say I can understand why getting a brand new printer and then having it essentially eating itself would not be the most enjoyable experience. So, yeah, so Ryan, they changed it. Now it's aligned with top, bottom, left, right. So I'm guessing they realized that a lot of people were scratching their rods, and they realized that the direction of the forces was not being distributed well. At least that's my guess. Because the x-axis is more of a rotational force, but yeah, so I was in discussion with chat, or with support, I don't know, about a month ago, and they sent me an updated x-axis guide. So probably within the last couple months, they updated it. I assembled my printer early this year, I think. So at that point, the online manual was not updated to say that yet. But that's also why I think Prusa generally recommends just look at their online manuals. Don't even look at the printed manuals. In general, they make a lot of changes, so you're better off looking at that. Alright, so this one still feels like shit, so gonna do it one more time. I have a feeling I'll be disassembling this y-axis anyway in the near future to do an early service, just to make sure everything is moving well. At least it's easy enough to disassemble. Alright, this is arguably the most boring section of the build, but that's alright. Okay, fingers crossed that loosens up a little bit. But like I said, I'll probably do an early service on these, so no worries. Speaking of which, how's the audio? Hopefully it's not absolutely terrible. It's the first time ever trying in a live stream, so, well, one with me in it at least. That's all right, Rince. They're reprinting now, but luckily I have a spare from my my other build, so I might have a mismatch some parts for this build, but that's why I'm not going to get too far today. I'll pick back up tomorrow when I actually have all the remaining printed parts. All right. I might do the greasing off stream next time too, so you guys don't have to deal with that. Sweet, thanks guys. So more importantly, Rince, have you come up with any good colors lately? You should link in the chat your website. In case anyone hasn't seen some of Rince's sweet new colors, they're pretty fantastic. So first batch might be sold out though. Yeah, I'll have to get around to printing something in that new blue eventually. This week was kind of the week from hell, so hopefully this weekend will be chill. All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get something for these nuts. I don't feel like dealing with pliers on those. All right. Huh, that worked out well. All right, so I've heard all the horror stories with these U-bolts, but it seems like as long as you just kind of hand tighten them and you don't have a lot of torque, obviously can't put too much torque with a little 5.5mm socket only, so seems to be a good torque limiter. It's the one downfall that... Chaco, you like the nature? There's two robins actually. They're both hunting for worms. One downfall of white lithium is it does in fact get everywhere, but you could say that's a feature, not a problem, considering with grease you kind of want it to get everywhere. At least there's some good nature sounds for some of the backdrop. If you're lucky, the deer will wander by. They normally come around this time, maybe a little bit later now that the sun's staying up a little bit longer. Chaco, I'm pretty sure I'm a Disney princess regardless. My mom tells me. I'm actually surprised this stream is even working at all. I've got a pretty ghetto setup with my DSLR over USB, and then screen capturing a live display from a capture software. So if it cuts out, that's why. It's definitely not the intended use of this. But I also wasn't going to buy $400 or $500 in capture cards and microphones so that I could live stream one time for 5 people, so. And of course, naturally, as soon as I'm not on Discord, all I see is the little ping counter increasing as people randomly tag me. So I'm sure you guys are only discussing nice things and sharing fun screenshots of me. All right. What I want to know is who's going to check my benchy bottom whenever I'm done. Maybe we'll do a community check. If someone makes me scratch my sheet, I'm not going to forgive you. Man, I think white lithium might be worse than glitter. Okay. Aha. So there aren't enough square nuts for the Y holders because they used to use zip ties. White lithium glitter grease. Don't tell Audio, he's been adding mica and everything, so. I'm just waiting to drop some of the fasteners right down through the deck, never to be seen again. Glitter and mica. Rance, is your floor just littered with random hardware? I have a feeling. All right. That and the sparkles. Right, I forgot. You're making filament in your basement. Yeesh. No thanks. All right. Another trick that some people haven't picked up on. If you get stubborn square nuts and can't insert them, you can do two things. One, my favorite, is I take a smaller or I would if I had it on me, smaller Allen key and put it into the actual bolt hole if I can get enough of the square nut in and just align it like that. But if you can't, you just get a flathead and you just kind of support it with your thumb and push down and it works fine. Rinse is saying no, but works perfectly for me. Just don't stab yourself. I really should have done this build with my electric impact. That probably would have ruffled some feathers. Oh man, you guys are talking so fast I can't even keep up. My basement has random purge lines and skirts everywhere. Yeah, my basement's the worst whenever I've had a lot of failed prints, because I can't stop to clean. I need to figure out why. So instead of picking up everything, I just continually troubleshoot, which ends up with failed parts, failed pieces of plastic, purge blocks, purge lines, all of the above, all over the place. Then when I finally get that 4-day print started, that's when I actually start cleaning up everything. Okay, new wire rod holders. In case you haven't picked up on it, color scheme is going to be this pretty fantastic radiated fog. I don't know if that's easy to see. Maybe a little difficult in this light. And this is essentially going to be contrasted by a nice gold PETG. So I have some final parts printing, but at least that's the general gist of the color scheme. So it's going to be the silver and gold build. Best part of printing your own parts is things generally are printed a little bit better in tolerance. So I remember my farm parts doing this was a huge nightmare because the slots for the square nuts were way too big, and of course they slot in from the bottom, so they would just fall out every time you would try to install it. And as you know, you've got this extrusion right here where they'd fall just enough to make it so they don't line up with the hole, which is fantastic. The bed is actually going to be gold. It's the old school gold PEI, which should fit the color scheme quite well. So my, I guess, y-axis technique is probably a little different than the manual does, but I find that if you only strictly listen to the manual, you can end up with a little more skew than is necessary. So I'll show you what I end up doing. So far, I have only loosely tightened all of the, well, 2 of the wire rod holders. I'll do these last 2 as well. The idea is we'll actually, first mistake of many. going to be hard to get the wide tray in. If the Y rods are in. I'll show the gold PEI bed tomorrow when I'm streaming that section of the build. Also going to fix the alignment of this bearing real quick. Shifted just a little bit. I will say, I have nothing but respect for all the people that do these live streams for the first time with new printers, with a chat yelling at them about how they should be doing it or how they are doing it. No idea how those guys actually put up with that. Okay. That sounds pretty awful. That's a little bit better. All right. Don't scratch the rods. That's basically a meme at this point. Mario speedrun. I'd watch that. But you know what I'd really like to see? I'd like to see Mario print with the palette on one of those KPS3s. All right. I feel like it's the equivalent of that's the equivalent of putting a Ferrari engine in a Toyota Corolla though, so might be a little controversial. Okay, so I'm going to read the manual just to see if they've updated since the last time I did it. But give me one sec. Okay. So, he had his yard redone today, so he was apologizing for any dust or dirt or anything that he might have caused us, but not a big deal, obviously. So, anyway, all right, everything's loosely tightened for the Y-rod holders. Generally, if I remember correctly, the instructions say to push to one end, tighten them, and then move to the other end and tighten them. Yeah. So what I like to do is I actually like to tighten while moving back and forth more than just 1 or 2 times. The reason is it takes a little bit of vibration, click, whatever, to actually get everything to settle in. So in general, if you just move it 1 time, it's not actually going to settle the components. So these are actually loose-ish in place. Definitely not tight. And then generally, I actually like to bounce the tray off each side, let it settle both sides pretty well, and then once it's on the back, I tighten. It's maybe going to be hard to show, but I like to tighten the outside screw on either holder just a little bit snug, and then I do the same thing again just to make sure that everything can settle in nicely, and then I tighten the inside for each holder. Again, settle everything in, flip around to the front, same thing, outside, inside, and then we're done. And that should give you pretty much as smooth of a y-axis as you could want. Also, hopefully the audio is working again, considering I unmuted and didn't check. Okay, so that should be pretty much the y-axis done. Motor time. I thought I grabbed, oh yeah. Alright, and then the y-axis motor is actually another kind of, I would say, annoying part. Primarily because I think the printed motor mount isn't rigid enough, so you end up getting quite a bit of movement when tensioning the belt or whatever. So it's one part that I'd probably redesign or maybe print a stronger part in the future. If I'm honest, I just didn't really have time to search around for one that I liked for this build, so I went ahead and printed the MK3s Plus parts. Alright, so now fingers crossed. Yeah, I'm in Eastern time, Chaco, so it's 8:05 here right now. So this is convenient. This gridded map has both inches on this side, centimeters on that side. So I guess inches on these two sides, and then centimeters on these two sides. So if you're ever not sure, you can have a quick check on the mat to make sure that it is the correct length bolt. And since this is a MK3s kit, the number of screws and bolts and types is a little bit different, enough that I probably won't have all of what I need up here, so I have some in the basement that I can grab if I need to. All right, belt holder. Got to start a garbage bag. Stuff's getting out of hand. All right. See you, Choco. All right. All right, now with these belts, I know some people get tripped up on them. I just like to tighten them enough to essentially close the gap. So probably a little difficult to see, but I just tighten this bolt enough so that there's no gap between the bolt and the belt, but I don't squish the belt at all. So if you see the belt starting to squish or expand, loosen it up just a hair. Thanks, Brett. Alright, I got distracted and ended up forgetting to actually put the Y motor on, so I will do that right now. Alright, I've got to steal some fasteners. my girlfriend. But it's nice to see that you're actually paying attention. This is really where I would recommend ball-in Allen head tools. They're worth their weight in gold, even though I don't have any. Aside from the ones that came in the kit, of course. Well, that might be gone. Alright, there we go. Just having the hardest time getting the tensioning bolt threaded onto the lock nut for some reason. I'm going to prove to you guys that the tuning app works. Can't tell you how many people tell me it doesn't work. All right. Of course, I say that, and now I'm outside with all of nature sounds. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually doesn't work. Okay. Too tight by a good bit. Actually, it's picking it up just fine. So, the only issue is I need to loosen a couple teeth on the belt. So, tightened it just a little too much. Alright, that should be better. Okay, now we should be in a little bit better shape. Look at that. Alright, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but I promise you that says a clean 90 hertz. So you see how lightly I'm plucking? That's all you need to do. So now just snug up the holders so nothing moves, and you're done. I'm going to adjust the pulley just a little bit, get a little more in center. But I've noticed that, if I'm being honest, it doesn't seem to care if the pulley rides strictly in the center or not. In any case, this is a music stream. Yeah, we'll tune all your instruments live on stream. All right, I have hot tub streamer. All right, I'm checking your comments on Discord. All right, I am done with the y-axis. And I do think I'm going to call it for tonight and pick up the x and z-axis tomorrow morning, if anyone wants to actually see it. So I guess thanks for joining. If you're interested, I will go ahead and stream again tomorrow morning. And if you have any questions or things that you want me to specifically cover during the stream tomorrow, just throw it at me and I'll make sure I take a little bit more time, or maybe get a better camera view of some of the things I'm doing. But yeah, my first stream, so thanks for joining. Mario, I didn't know you were on Drylands. Anyway, all right, have a good night, guys.